Hello. Welcome to my channel. Hello BookTube. Hi. That's a lot of hellos. Anyway, time for another round of recent reads. I read 3 books, and I would say all of the books that I am going to talk about here are short books. So I suppose the theme of this recent reads would be, shorty edition. Yay! And I took quite a short time reading each of these books, which makes sense. And yeah, what to expect in this video? There is going to be a rant, definitely, but I'm going to start with something positive, and that's very highly likely because it's by a favorite author of mine. This is Alice Smith's Girl Meets Boy. So this book is sort of like a reinterpretation of Ovid's metamorphosis. Well, not exactly a reinterpretation of that big word. A reinterpretation of something within it. That is the myth of Iphis and Ianthe. And it's not exactly a retelling, like a shot-by-shot retelling, but something inspired by it. So in this book, we have 2 characters who live in, let me see, I think they live in Inverness. And so we have 2 sisters. One is named Anthea and another one is Imogen, and they don't really mesh well with each other. They have this sort of sour sibling relationship with each other. They care for each other, but they are not really they don't go along quite well. So Anthea, in this book, her subplot involves her encountering one particular genderqueer person named Robin, and she falls in love with Robin. And so that's basically her deal in this book. She falls in love with a genderqueer person. Meanwhile, we have the subplot of Imogen, who is working at this bottled water company. And she has her own goals, she has her career aspirations, but at the same time working in that company a lot sort of leads her to realize certain unsavory realities of being being a woman in the company that sort of exist with the goal of exploiting others. So there are a few things that she learns about herself and also about that company that leads her to go on this kind of journey of transformation. So another small note about Imogen is that she's kind of mildly homophobic as well, and so when the part of the story in which her sister falls in love with a genderqueer person, Imogen doesn't feel very comfortable about that fact. So that is also another thing explored in this story as well. I find the story really charming. There are certain parts that can feel quite on the nose in regards to how it tries to convey its message regarding exploitation, regarding identity, regarding queer issues, which can be a little bit distracting, but as a whole I would say this book is quite cute and charming and has that really nice love story thing going on in here also. I really like how this book is about the fluidity of human existence. I think that is another aspect that feel kind of on the nose, but at the same time, because of how charming it is, I'm able to sort of ignore that. The fluidity of human existence. There are a lot of things in this book that they are used to convey that idea, you know, like how Imogen is working at a bottled water company, you know, water fluidity, and the fact that the water is bottled and sold to people, that fluidity is boxed in and maybe commodified. You know, there's a lot of that kind of parallelism going on, metaphorical things going on. And also, you know, the plot with Anthea falling in love with the genderqueer Robin, obviously a lot of fluidity over there as well in regards to gender identity. So this is a book that uses a lot of these kind of elements, and they sort of blend blended with each other quite well, like water. And there are also some parts that are kind of humorous in this book also. So, you know, as usual, I really like Alice Smith's writing. I find her, you know, her style really interesting, really unique. So, yeah, I highly recommend this. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. And the next book is The Apology by Eve Ensler, but now she's known as V. So she was formerly known as Eve Ensler. So in this book is a non-fiction of sorts, where V writes about her father. Specifically, she writes a letter of apology that her father should have given her when her father was still alive. So basically, her father is already dead, and in this sort of letter of apology, V uses it to kind of process her experience suffering the countless amounts of abuse that she received at the hands of her late father. And the abuse, they range from sexual abuse to mental abuse to physical abuse. And the way that those abuse are being written in this book can be very vivid and graphic. So I would say this book can be quite triggering and disturbing to some people. But there is this really strong rawness in this book, this really strong emotional, visceral, I would say strength in this book that makes it feel like a really compelling read. In this book, aside from detailing the amount of abuse that she received from her father, V also wrote about her father as a kid, from obviously, you know, as a hypothetical letter of apology, through the point of view of the father, like how the father would describe his childhood as problematic and troubled. And I would say this book also shows how V is able to kind of write about her experience and her father while being empathetic towards her father, but at the same time still condemns like heavily the bad things that the father has done to her. This book, despite being very thin, I think it packs like a lot of punch. It is really strong, and while reading this book I felt very, very, very uneasy because of just the amount of traumatic experience that this book writes about. So yeah, this book is also something I highly recommend, although of course, again, you know, just a heads up, there are parts of this book that can be quite triggering, so yeah, just a heads up on that. But I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. Really great. And last but not least, well, maybe it's the least, it's The Divorce by César Aira. who is an Argentinian writer. This book was written in Spanish and it was translated into English by Chris Andrews. Okay, so I'm gonna just say it, I did not like this book at all. This book is about a, well, not exactly is about. This book starts with a divorced American man who comes from Rhode Island. He's just recently divorced from his wife, and Christmas is coming soon, and he doesn't want to like spend Christmas with the thoughts of, you know, being a recently divorced person, and so he decides to travel to Buenos Aires to spend the vacation there, just sort of to be away from his, you know, divorcee reality in America. So in Buenos Aires, he encounters two Argentinian, one man and one woman, and the story would eventually shift to this man and woman's experience escaping a fiery school when they were younger, I suppose. And then after that, the story would shift to a different character, and the next chapter would shift to a different character. So this book is kind of like a collection of interlinked short stories. And the way that they are interlinked is definitely there. Like, you could definitely see a thread going on in this book. And the short stories, the contents, you know, the characters, they are about highly different things. Like, you also have a character that is kind of like Krishna, but wearing Victorian garments, and then you also have characters that are that have been shot but turns out to be alive. You have characters who are I think it's also the same character as the person who became a CEO of a big company as a 14 years old and becoming a dazzling CEO, a really competent CEO at that, to boot. So so there's definitely a lot of surrealism going on in this book, and you know, I love surrealism. There are a lot of randomness in this book, a lot of events that are coincidence in this book as well. And I really like those things, honestly. But then after reading this book, I learned one thing. There are certain types of surrealism, there are certain flavors of surrealism that I just don't jive well with. And I still, in that part of my life in which I don't know how to articulate myself in regards to my taste with surrealism, I just need to read more on this. But this is definitely like one of those writing styles that I did not like. I feel like a lot of the randomness in here just feels really contrived. It feels really intentional. It's like the writer is trying to really push a message or a main idea through this series of randomness and surrealistic events, and just tries to, you know, obviously put forward an idea, but at the end I'm still not exactly sure what that idea is. I think there is definitely an idea there, but I'm not really sure what it is because it's not like really written very well. Maybe this is the intention, I don't know. But even if it is, it just doesn't mix well with my personal taste, you know. And another thing that I realized about my own pet peeve when it comes to writing or reading books, I really dislike when fiction authors, especially you know, when the author is writing something that is considered literary fiction or, you know, just general fiction, right? I don't really like it when they insert some kind of scientific, high-level scientific jargon or concepts as some kind of metaphor for something in the book. I mean, they could do that, I don't mind, but I don't like it when they do it and do it badly. In this book's case, I don't think it is done very well. Inserting those scientific concepts as similes or metaphors, if it's not done well, it will only make the book sound very pompous, like it's trying to inflate its own sense of importance. You know what I mean? Like in this book, I was just like reading, you know, the scene from that, you know, burning school story, and then suddenly there are certain parts that come up with words such as karyokinesis. Like, it just doesn't make sense why it has to be karyokinesis. Like, there are a lot of things in cell division that you could use. It doesn't even explore the story further in relation to its use of karyokinesis. Like, that word, that bombastic word, just came out of nowhere. Like, why karyokinesis? Why not cytokinesis? Why not just something really, you know, much broader, like meiosis? You know, I personally would think meiosis would add a little bit of a sexual, you know, reproductive context to that story, which I think would probably work better. But no, it uses karyokinesis anyway. So that's just one example. Another example, which I think is just kind of grating, is that, and this is just a paraphrase, I don't write down the actual sentence, but there is one part that says that describes a sound that is so inaudible in all but the highest frequency. Like, dude, if the frequency is like really high, there's a chance you are not going to hear it anyway. Like, frequency is not the thing, it's not the main thing that is going to affect audibility. It's amplitude, dude. It's amplitude is the loudness. Frequency is the pitch. So why use frequency when you want to describe, you know, the loudness of something? Oh, it's just so annoying. Like, why use these things as similes? Why use these things as metaphors when it's just gonna be thrown in there and like lie there as some kind of dead animal? I don't get it. Anyway, that's all. I hope you are entertained by this final rant. And anyway, before that, I give this book 1 out of 5 stars. Just saying. So yeah, I hope you are entertained by this rant. And let me know if you have any comments on these books, if you have any comments in general. How has your day been going lately? You know, let me, you know, I'll let you in on one secret of mine. Well, it's not exactly a secret, but yeah, I just don't share it. I'm currently on a diet. Well, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. You'll see if it's gonna work or not. But yeah, I'm striving towards a healthier lifestyle. But yeah, that's just like one of the things I kind of want to share with you. I don't think I have anything else to share. As you can see, you know, my life is really, you know, it's really eventful. Anyway, I'll see you again in the next video. Maybe at that time I'll have more events to share with you. And yeah, I'll see you again. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.